I hate to tell you this, but the reasons that we don't agree about spiritual things are not reasons to get divorced. They're reasons to sit down and have an honest conversation. Too many people come to the table and they can't agree on who their favorite college football team is, and they're ready to split. And listen, God has a plan, and the plan is you hooked up with somebody. And I personally believe you could take two people who've never met each other. You could put them together, and if they would live by this section of Scripture, any two people could live in harmony forever. Honor others, submit yourselves one to another in fear of God. That, if I'm constantly submitting to my wife and she's submitting to me, meaning that I'm putting her needs ahead of my own and she's putting my needs ahead of her own, those kind of people can get along. Right? Because the idea is that this isn't about me. This is about everybody else. Well, what do you do if I'm alone? I'm a single mom. What if I'm single? Well, if you're a single mom, you're the leader in your family. You assume the leadership in your family. Because there's a vacancy there, okay, according to God's plan. So you become the spiritual leader. And unfortunately, you have to assume that responsibility, unfortunately. Or fortunately. Because somebody's got to influence your children. Somebody has to influence your children. And if it wasn't for moms, Christianity wouldn't be alive in 2008. I bet you there are 50 women who go to church without their husbands for every man who goes to church without his wife. I'll almost guarantee it. At least that many. Because it's the women who have a nurturing spirit, more sensitive to the things of God, generally. You can influence your family. So our first three players, God, children are to obey, wives are to follow. You know, time's getting late, so I think we're going to leave the men out today. And, you know, gentlemen, you and I are spoken to 2 times. The section refers to us as husbands, and then it also refers to us as fathers. So we get double duty. It says, husbands, go all out in love for your wives, exactly like Christ did for the church. A love that's marked by giving and not getting. Now I want you to hear something. This section of Scripture is not a mandate for you and I to be in control. It's not a mandate for us to be in control or be in charge. It's a mandate for us to serve. It is not a suggestion. This is a command to serve your wife, to serve your family. And there are churches that are meeting today that have the mindset that the man is in charge of his family and can tell his family what to do, and that the wife ought not have an opinion, should just keep her mouth shut. That's not what the Word says. The Word says that we are to serve our families. This is a command to humble ourselves and to submit to our families. And notice what it says. Go all out in love for your wife. A love marked by giving, not getting. Words that would evoke her beauty. Everything that he does is designed to bring out the best of her. Not the best in me, the best of her. That's what Christ does for us. And so you and I, unfortunately, our charge is to be like Christ. Our charge is way up there. Kids are to obey, and wives are to follow. We have to be like Jesus. Oh, no problem. How high can you raise that bar? Well, that's the goal. That's the goal. It also says that the husband provides leadership to his wife, like Christ does the church. Not by domineering, but by cherishing her. Just as the church submits to Christ as he exercises such leadership, wives should likewise submit to their husbands. The women and the kids are going to follow us. I don't hunt because my dad didn't hunt. I have cousins who hunt because their dads hunted. Why? Because dad took them hunting. He led them to be hunters. But I know how to turn a double play as a second baseman and a shortstop because I did it thousands of times because my dad wasn't satisfied I was doing it my best. Why? Because he led me that way. That's leadership. Man, leadership is not telling your kids, you really ought to go to youth group tonight. Leadership is, come on, I'm going to church. I want you to go with me. Leadership is modeling. It's not directing. It's showing them how to, as opposed to telling them what to. Leadership. This is not a mandate to you and I to force or to dominate either. It's a mandate of responsibility and accountability. Ultimately, somebody somewhere has got to make a decision. Okay, and let me explain. I have 4 people in my house and 3 fur people. Okay? I have 4 humans. When my kids were little and we'd say, where do you want to go eat? There was always one answer. McDonald's. That was the only answer. And so even though I wanted to eat something different, I would submit to my children and we would go to McDonald's. As my kids got older and we started exposing them to other forms of so-called food, you know, my kids discovered things like Red Lobster every once in a while, or Macaroni Grill every now and then, or, you know, Carrabba's, right? Now, when we get in the car, we can't decide where to go eat. Because we got 4 people with 4 different ideas. Now, I'm telling you, we could go down to Waterford Lakes and sit down there in the parking lot and we'd be paralyzed for a half hour trying to decide where we're going to go eat. That's why I'm thankful that Five Guys Burgers is open, because the discussion will be over. And if you've ever had a Five Guys, you know what I'm talking about. Good stuff, right? I can't wait for that place to open, just because it'll solve all the problems in my family. Now, if you have 4 people that want to go 4 different places, somebody somewhere has to say, well, we're going to make a decision. Okay? And so let's just say, for the sake of discussion, that that's me. Because ultimately, that's my decision. What I have to do is, I have to take into consideration everybody's feelings. Thomas wants to go here, Tori wants to go there, Sherry wants to go there, and Dad wants to go there. Well, now wait. Now, the last time we did this, we went where Thomas wanted to go. So this time we have to take into consideration what Tori would want more than Thomas, because he got to do what he wanted last time. So that's what leadership is. Leadership is taking the ability to go, now wait, what's fair for everybody? But somebody somewhere has to make a decision. Okay? So in my family, I don't have 50% of the vote. I've got 25.1% of the vote. No, I'm serious. Because we're all equal. We come to the table equally. But somebody somewhere has to eventually say yes or no to what we're going to do. And that responsibility falls on me. Okay? I have to consider what my wife wants. I have to consider all this. Yes, but eventually somebody's got to say yes or no. And according to the Bible, picking a restaurant is probably not the best example. But when it comes to spiritual things and major life decisions, ultimately, I will be the one held responsible for where my family ended up. Because they're following me. Okay? Fathers, don't exasperate your children. Take them by the hand. Lead them. One of the reasons that we do this right here, Family Worship Sunday, is because for a lot of our children, they never see their dads worship. Ever. Because church is like the mall. It's one of the only 2 places in the world where we walk in and we split up and we get back together in 3 hours. Kids walk in, they go to kids' church, the adults go here, the old people go here, the infants go there, children's church is there, and then the toddlers are over here. And we look at each other and go, okay, 11:30, I'll meet you back here at the door, just like at the mall. Well, one of the reasons we're doing this is so some of our little boys can see men worship. Now I want you to hear this. Most of you, when you were a little kid and you had a Sunday school teacher, male or female? Female. And then all of a sudden they show up in the 6th or 7th grade in the youth group, and the youth pastor's a male. I've never seen this before. They've had 11 or 12 years of seeing females, and all of a sudden here's this male. That's kind of weird. It's very weird. And so one of the reasons we're doing this is to give you dads a chance to sing with your kids and to clap and to laugh and to carry on and to show them that this is okay, this is cool. Because one of these days they'll be standing in your spot, and they've got to model it to their boys. This week was a historic week in our country. We've got a female or our first African American. One of them's going to get elected. And of the events of the week, the thing that I saw the most, and I heard a commentator say,